Good morning, homies and homettes. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are gonna finish up the headlight install for the E92 M3. Let's run through a few things that I did this morning. We have been finishing up yesterday's headlight. Last night, the projector lens did show up. So that is what we went with. Honeycomb with the Vossen logo, which looks absolutely insane. Of course, the biggest shout out to Lit Lights for getting that done. I'll have them linked down in the description box below. Hit them up if you want your own lens etched. So that's all finished up. All the wiring, this is the coolest part about this whole thing. All the wiring is internal. There's not gonna be any wiring we have to connect on the outside. So everything's completely wired. All we have to do, connect the turn signal down there, connect this to the LED strip right there, and we're done. This is pretty much a part 2 to yesterday's video. So if you guys have not seen that and you are interested in building your own E92 or like BMW headlights in general, I guess, I would highly suggest going and checking that out. Today is gonna be more of like a tutorial where I'm cutting, where I'm grinding, where I'm heating and bending and gluing and epoxying all of these parts and pieces together at. We are doing the BOV group designs, I believe is what it's called, vision rings, so the hexagon rings, and the switchback blinker as well. Tons of cutting required. I spent about 10 hours, 11 hours yesterday doing one headlight. Today should go quite a bit faster. All we're gonna do is just measure, copy and paste from the driver's side to the passenger side. All right, let's run through a few things. This is pretty much how it looks all assembled. There is a difference between the inner and the outer ring. The inner one has a more shallow bend right here, while the outer one, closest to the outside of the car, is much more steep of a bend and it's a little bit shorter. So that's the first thing. Second thing, that needs a ton of cutting. This shroud for the projector needs so much cutting. The goal today is to help you guys with cutting that, showing exactly where it needs to be cut, how much it needs to be cut. We don't want it looking like that. Even though all that is hidden when the headlight is assembled, we want to avoid that. So that needs a lot of cutting. This shroud does not need any cutting whatsoever. The LED ring sits on top of the shroud like that. This piece right here does need a little bit of trimming to go around the LED rings. And as far as the switchback blinker, that sits right inside the lens like that. And you do not have to trim this piece at all to go around the blinker. The first one we're gonna do is the easy one, the inner one. I'm gonna copy this and paste it right onto the passenger side headlight. First of all, we gotta make sure we're getting the ring on properly. So this giant hole goes to the very top, small hole goes to the bottom of the headlight, like so. So the first measurement we need to know is from the outside of this clip right here to the edge of the LED. And that measurement is 1.394 inches. Let's call that 1.4 inches. From that tab right there, the outside edge of this tab to the very edge of the LED ring. So we're gonna measure that and mark it on this housing right here with just a little piece of tape. You can see how we have this ring set. It's right on the edge right there, like right in that crack. That's where the edge of the ring is gonna sit. All right, so we have the first part marked with a piece of tape. We have the top figured out. The second part is pretty simple. Flat piece right here is going to sit right on the edge of this crack right there. We're gonna double side tape the ring on for now, and we need to double check that it is sitting 100% straight, 100% flat when we put the headlight on the car. So let's get this thing double side taped down, and then we can move on to the hard part. So the shroud sits like this. That tab goes down. That one goes up into the corner. First thought we're gonna make, this one is 0.9 inches from the edge of the circle right here in. So 0.9 inches in, and then 3.18 inches from that tip right there down. If you drew a line straight down and a line out where those two meet, you put a dot. That's the first mark we're gonna do. The second one is 1.35 inches from the edge of that tab up. And then we go 0.7 from the edge of the circle down and put a little dot right there. The next one is 1.74 inches from that same half moon we did earlier in, and then from the edge of that circle in is 0.67 inches. This should be one of the last measurements. So from this tab right here, we're not gonna measure from down there. We're measuring from that tip right there. We are at 1.5 inches and 0.8 inches. We're gonna run electrical tape from that dot to that dot, that dot to that dot, that dot to that dot. So that is what we came up with. We're gonna be cutting on each edge of the electrical tape. It's about the proper width for the slot that we have to set the LED down in there. We're gonna have to do a little bit more dremeling and trimming later on, but this should get us super close. I know that was a lot of measurements I just dumped out, but if you guys are doing this, I hope that saves you guys some time. Okay, we got it cut. This is how we're sitting right now. Already such a better start than this. This is so janky, but it'll work. We have to Dremel and cut out a little bit up here just to get it to slide up just a little bit more. And then this edge right here, we're gonna have to cut out and Dremel just a little bit as well. And other than that, we should be ready to kind of set this thing up on the headlight, double side tape it up like that, and make sure everything's even. All right, we got both LED rings installed. That was definitely the hardest part. We need to paint this piece right here. So let's pop off the LED ring, get it painted, and then we could set everything up on the car, make sure everything's lined up like it should. Everything else for the passenger side headlights already painted. We just have this one piece left. All right, we got this headlight somewhat assembled. We're gonna throw it up on the car and make sure everything looks even. The driver's side headlight's actually 100% finished up, kind of been working on that behind the scenes. Might as well throw this on at the same time and make sure both sides are 100% even. Well, there it is, guys. First headlight is complete. That looks so freaking good. I can't wait to turn this thing on, start up the car, and see how good she really looks. We needed to do a tiny bit of adjustment. It looks like the outer one right there is rotated a little bit more than the inner one. It's not sitting quite flat. Let's get that all lined up, mark it, and we can get those epoxied on. Everything is lined up. That looks perfect. Just like that side. From here, it's relatively easy. All we have to do is pull the headlight back off, and we got to epoxy those rings using this JB Weld. This is the JB Weld plastic bonder, same stuff we used yesterday. Only stuff that dries black. I'll have that link down below as well. But we got to JB Weld the rings onto the projector shrouds, let that cure for like 30 minutes, throw the headlight back together, wire everything up, and we're done. So the only trimming we need to do on this piece right here, this yellow line here, and that little sliver right there. Trim both of those off, and this thing should clear those vision rings just fine. So I'm putting all the wiring inside the headlight like I mentioned earlier, makes everything super clean. When it's fully sealed up, you cannot tell that there's a crazy jumble mess of wires. So everything goes behind this complete assembly right here, which sits on the inside like that. There's so much space back there that everything is just tucked back there. So I'm gonna get that done right now. A few more minutes with the epoxy, that should be dry, and we can get the lens back on. So this headlight is pretty much ready to go back on the car. We got to get the lens back on. I did go to test out all the lights, and none of the lights actually worked. I then took the driver's side headlight and plugged it into the passenger side, and nothing still worked. So I know it's nothing in the headlight. It's actually something on the car. There is a module on the M3 that is called an FRM. The FRM, I believe, controls pretty much everything in the headlight. So if a bulb goes out, in our instance, the angel eye bulb, the FRM will attempt to kick that bulb on multiple times. If it doesn't turn on, it'll trip something in the FRM, and then you have to go in with a computer and reset the FRM. I also am reading comments from yesterday's video. I keep seeing this comment over and over again, and let me explain something to you guys with this build. All of the light comes out of this right here. This is the projector. This right here is the low beam and the high beam. This right here is the angel eye. We're not using that whatsoever. That's why we completely blocked everything out. Instead of the angel eyes, which are only for looks, they don't provide any light output really whatsoever. So instead of those, we're adding this and the LED strip. This is the low beam and high beam. All of the light output comes out of there. So us blacking that out has no effect on the actual light output whatsoever. I figured out how to clear the air on that. I know on a lot of headlights, that would be the low beam, that would be the high beam, but these are bi neon, so low beam and high beam are both right there. For the two wires that you have to connect to the blinker, the yellow wire goes to white, then black goes to brown. This thing's 100% ready to go, ready to be sealed up. Let's get that lens on, get it in the oven. This is the sealant that we're using, Morimoto resealing glue. I'll have that link down below as well. All right, we threw the headlight in the oven. I've already showed you guys this, I think in yesterday's video. Got it completely sealed up. One screw goes in this corner here, and then there's 4 of these little clips that you gotta clip on. All that's good to go. let's throw on the cover right there. There's a cover that goes right there. This computer, the ballast, bulb, and we're good to go. All right guys, headlights are on the car. Like I was saying earlier, everything on this side works as it should. This side, our LED rings and the strip do not work. But if you take the headlights off, put the passenger side onto the driver's side, everything works fine. So it's gotta be the FRM or some other control module in the car. All the fuses I checked and all the fuses are good. I do have an appointment already with a Euro shop here locally in 2 days, but I'm gonna try to get it fixed before then. Try to get this thing fixed tonight. I just don't have the proper software, which I can download online, but then I don't have the proper cable that we need to use the software, and that would take probably a few weeks to show up. Since I know everything in the headlights is good to go, I'm gonna completely get everything assembled, pull them off real quick. We got to get the headlight brackets or the mounts on, and then we can get everything put back on and get the bumper on and kind of get a rough idea based off this side of how she's gonna look. Both headlights are on the car. Before we install the bumper, there's one last mod that we need to do. And this is required on every set of headlights that we ever rebuild. Now I know we boogered up one of the headlight lens and it'll be replaced eventually, but for the time being, we gotta make these things look better. We just put all of this time and hours and energy and money into the headlights, and having crusty lens on them just makes them not look good. We have used the Cerakote ceramic headlight restoration kit on like 8 sets of headlights now. Works wonders. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the M3 headlights. Let me show you guys how crusty these things really are. They're not super faded, maybe just a little bit, but there's quite a bit of pitting in there. So I wanna get all of that out. Using the Cerakote kit should take pretty much all of that out. Very simple to use, 3 steps: oxidation remover, which is just a wipe; surface prep, which is actually sanding; step 3 is the ceramic coat itself, which is another wipe. So there's 8 wipes total for the oxidation remover and 2 of the clear coat wipes. So everything you see right here is for one side. 4 of these guys, 1 of those, 2000 grit, 3000 grit, and this little sander thing. This is what you put the sandpaper on. All right. So here is a before. This is the crusty lens that we burnt. You can see quite a bit of pitting in it. It's not very clear. There's no depth to it. It just looks meh. Now, check it out after. Literally looks brand new. Jeez. Now you can see every little detail. Those honeycombs popping through, the Vossen logo popping through. That's crazy. Damn, this thing looks absolutely insane, boys. I know there was a lot of people in yesterday's episode that said there's too much going on in the headlights, too much work, too much money, not worth it. I think the end result is 100% worth it. 126% worth it. They look insane, especially when we get that passenger side working, even better. One last thing before we pull it outside and turn on the lights. We picked up all the badges for the OEM wheels. Let's get these things on. I've been waiting on these guys for a while. They finally showed up. Oh yeah, that's sick. I know it's super hard to get a good look or an idea, I guess, of how it's gonna look all completed with the passenger side headlight working. It's gonna look sick. I really like how these things came out. I'm actually gonna be driving the car home for the first time in like a month tonight. This is also gonna be the first drive after doing the rod bearings. So that is also a little bit, you know, like nerve-wracking. Definitely gotta roll tonight with the exhaust open. Big shout out to Bomiz. What up guys, it's the next morning. I figured I would show you what the headlights look like in the daytime. The rings are super bright. Let me turn the driver's side on and show you guys how bright they actually are like in the daytime. So I think this here is how I actually want to run them in the day, or just like as daytime running lights. I don't think that blue would be illegal. I'm sure if it was like blue and red, it'd probably be illegal, but yeah, clear as day, super bright in the daytime. Looks absolutely mean, looks insane. And of course, biggest shout out to Lit Lights for getting the etching done. That looks so freaking good, boys. Everything that we used to build these headlights, I'll have linked down in the description box below, as well as that Cerakote headlight restoration kit. Let me know what you think of them all finished up. Hopefully we can get that passenger side fixed up, hopefully sooner than later. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out, I'll see you tomorrow. Yo, I know you guys want to see the Evo 8 dash and that carbon fiber piece go in there, kind of see how everything looks. Definitely left you guys on a cliffhanger there, and I apologize for that. But we did run into some complications with that dash. Didn't really turn out like we expected. You guys will see in probably tomorrow's episode, so stay tuned for that.